What up, though? It's that nigga mine, bro. Let me see real quick. Let me make sure my camera's straight. My camera's straight. It's on me. Woondy woomp, da split. So, with that being said, we about to get into a little story, man. Like, I'm not too familiar with this story. Nathaniel, the 11-year-old killer. So, we about to figure out about Nathaniel and see what he's talking about.
Nathaniel Abraham was just 11 years old when he found himself in the middle of one of the most controversial murder cases in the history of the
Say most controversial murder case of U.S. history. That's crazy. Let's see what they talking about.
United States of America. The case scandalized the country and almost everyone responded with outrage. A murder case. But the folks on Nathaniel's block, his own neighbors, well, they weren't particularly shocked. He might have been little, measuring no more than 4 feet and weighing a little under 65 pounds, but he was also
only 4 feet and 65 pounds. And they say the neighbors had some shit to say about him.
Thorn in the side of everyone in the neighborhood, a danger to the community.
He threatened my grandsons all the time. He threw rocks at my mom's.
So he threatened her grandsons all the time. But, you know what I'm saying? Did she witness it? You know what I'm saying? I don't mean to be an asshole, but what if your grandsons threatened him? You know what I'm saying? Here you go, bro.
There they are, looking for their wives.
And I'm not giving the young nigga an excuse. I'm just creating dialogue. So, let's go.
His house. I mean, he was dangerous.
And she wasn't alone. Another neighbor, an 11-year-old girl, shared a similar sentiment because, according to her, when they were both 9, Nate had threatened her with a gun.
At
so,
9
as
years
Nathaniel
old,
Abraham,
he threatened her with a gun? Okay. Why wasn't he locked up then? That's wild.
Abraham's murder case began to take its hold in the center of public consciousness.
Yeah, because the public consciousness and public judgment is totally different from actually pulling out a gun. That's what I'm saying. Like, if he pulled out a gun at a young girl, why wasn't he charged then? You know what I mean? Wow.
It became clear that his
at 9 years
block,
old, they should have put his ass in juvenile. You pulling out guns. Like, hey, look, bro, you gotta learn. Fuck is you doing?
had turned against him. As disturbing as these allegations sounded, it seemed like they were true. All of his neighbors wanted him locked up.
Okay.
Except one. Only
neighbor.
one neighbor on Nate's block came to his defense when the cameras started rolling. He didn't try to downplay or dismiss claims about the boy.
Okay.
I think that's crazy for him to be charged as an adult. He's only 11 years old.
This
Only
neighbor
11.
was convinced that the little boy wasn't the devil. He was just
Yeah, he probably not he not the devil. He just influenced by negativity, bro.
a broken child who made terrible
Broken child, facts.
decisions. This man had also experienced a version of Nate that his neighbors hadn't got the chance to see. He wanted the government and the prosecutors to go easy on the young boy. Why? Because Nathaniel Abraham was an 11-year-old boy charged with the murder of an 18-year-old named Ronnie Green.
So he killed an 18-year-old. That's wild. Rest in peace to Ronnie Green. You know, that's wild though. So he supposedly killed him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Because in the most controversial turn of events, the state of Michigan was willing and ready to try him as an adult due to the severity.
Oh, this happened in Michigan. Okay, that's wild. That's even wilder. This happened in Michigan. He got to mention a year too
Of his crime. And if they found him guilty, if the prosecutors were able to get what they wanted, little Nate would spend the rest of his life in prison for a crime he committed when he was just 11.
Okay.
Some of you watching would say murder is murder regardless of the age. That's what makes the intricacies of this story all the more interesting.
Murder is murder.
Let me
regardless of age. And I feel that, you know what I'm saying? But in the same sense, they sense of morality ain't the same as a person that's older that experienced life. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, their value of what life is ain't the same as a person that's been living life for a while now. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I'm just getting back to it. Let's
set
go.
the record straight before we dive into this case. The true victim in this story was 18-year-old Ronnie Green. Nate was a preteen who killed a teenager, and now he had to face the consequences. So, what went wrong? We have to trace the thread back to the very beginning. Pontiac, Michigan,
Oh, Pontiac.
1986.
Oh, so this happened in 1986. Was you born 87, bro? Yeah. Okay. A year before my brother was born.
Months after he was born, his father left and never returned. This sudden change resulted in incredible hardship for the family because Nate wasn't the only child. There were 6 of them.
Dang.
His mother, Gloria, was forced to take up 2 jobs to keep their family afloat. She had to work day and night, so she was never around. And Nate's formative years were spent under the care of his older siblings. Gloria was caught between a rock and a hard place, between spending time raising her children or working hard to ensure they didn't starve to death. It's no easy dilemma. However, this whole situation turned out to...
And this single mom shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even mean to be an asshole, but like, a lot of the kids that's in prison now is because, not even kids, grown men that's in prison now that was raised by single moms, bro. It's wild. Y'all got to start making better decisions on who y'all choose to mate with, because at the end of the fucking day, if they ain't got no role model, the motherfucker gonna turn out bad, more than likely. Sometimes they don't. But in a lot of cases they do. So with that being said, let's continue.
to be the perfect storm for something dark within Nate. With no one to keep him in check, Nate became delinquent.
Okay.
From the moment he could walk, he began to exhibit extremely antisocial behavior.
And I kind of hate. Let's continue.
Many kids show these traits when they are young. Parents corrected and rooted out, but no one was around to do that for Nate. So it grew into something so ugly that by the time that he was 9, he had become a troublesome child with a rap sheet of a serious middle-aged criminal. From the age of 9 till 11, Nate had 22 police encounters.
Wow.
Some for arson, a couple of others for assault, and several for breaking and entering.
I gotta contribute to the conversation and say that's because the people he was hanging around. You know what I'm saying? He was doing arson, he was doing battery and all that shit because he was hanging around some goons. That's what the fuck happened with him. And he went out in the street following that, looking for, guidance through niggas that wasn't guiding him right. That's what happened. Let's go.
Of those 22, at least 5 involved the use of a weapon. One involved a 14-year-old that he beat with a steel.
So 22 encounters with the police. 2 of them he done actually did some assault. One of them with a steel pipe.
And the last involved an adult, a bus driver. At some point he became...
So yeah, he that's crazy. Crazy rap sheet for an 11-year-old.
Became such a problem in the neighborhood that...
From 9 to 11, you got 22. That's crazy.
Prosecutors would later reveal in court that a neighbor moved out of the block because of him. That same neighbor would also say, quite prophetically, that someday Nate was going to kill somebody. Now, you are probably wondering what Nate's mother did during this period. At some point, she began to feel helpless when almost every day there was someone knocking on their door reporting Nate's latest crime. One major reason why she felt helpless was because that she had actually gone to the police for help. She wanted them to intervene in her son's situation, but they referred her to the juvenile court. And when she got there, they sent her back to the police, telling her that her word wasn't enough. No one was prepared to help. Nobody was ready to intervene. Now, remember when I said Nate was born into a perfect storm? There was one more piece left for the chaotic future he was now destined to have. The 1980s was a very interesting decade in American history. Ronald Reagan became president. CNN became a
former
thing.
actor.
There were those interesting-looking Macintosh computers, and then there was violence. Widespread violence in major cities like New York and Chicago. However, the most troubling part of the 1980s was the spike in the level of violent crimes committed by juveniles. Between 1980 and 1994, the number of juvenile homicide offenders doubled. And according to...
And I'm sure that quadrupled now because they so influenced by the music. They was influenced by other people inside their neighborhood back then. But now it's really the music. Like, you really see a reflection of the music in reality. So, let's continue.
FBI clearance statistics from that time frame, the juvenile responsibility for all homicides in the country grew from 5% to 10%. The quick answer to why
That's
this
a
was
lot.
happening was the crack epidemic of the mid-1980s.
Facts.
In the inner cities, it had become a plague, and it wasn't long before those drugs got paired with guns and juveniles. Now, the
And
progression from
what he not mentioning, a lot of these guns that was sent off into the hood, they left him. You know what I'm saying? He don't know about that probably, you know, he a white dude, but there was definitely even guns in the hood for black people to get them. They left the drugs and all that shit in inner city. So let's go.
drug trade to gun violence isn't surprising. In fact, many would agree it's natural and expected. But how did kids get into the mix?
Say
Well,
natural
drug
and
traffic-
expected. What? Yeah, dog, you tripping. I don't even know this dude. He tripping. There ain't no natural and expected about killing motherfuckers and, you know, doing drugs. Even though I'm smoking weed, this not a drug, nigga. This herb. But at the end of the day, dog, yeah, you tripping. It's expected in his community because they got this preconceived notion that all black people are the same. You know what I'm saying? We ain't. You know what I'm saying? Just like all white people ain't the same. All you motherfuckers ain't racist. Some of you are. Just same thing with police. Some police bad police. Some of the motherfuckers good police. So that goes in every race and all that shit. So I don't like how he even threw that shit in there. Fuck this dude. Let's continue.
Traffickers at the time found that children and teenagers made excellent recruits, better than adults. Children worked as low-level sellers, carriers, and lookouts, while working for less, taking greater risks, and escaping detention. Because at the time, no one would have guessed that an 11-year-old standing on a street corner was a drug dealer. And even when these kids got caught, their age implied innocence, and it meant that they escaped punishment. From the drug dealer's perspective, these juveniles were beyond perfect. So it wasn't long before these same juveniles came in contact with guns and began using them for their own protection, even if they didn't need to. They aspired to use them because guns had become a status symbol for the drug-dealing lifestyle that these kids now wanted to be a part of. And that's why just a decade earlier in 1976, records showed that less than 2/3 of juvenile homicide offenders used a gun. And by 1994, 82% of juveniles used a gun in cases of homicide. This was the background of Nate's childhood.
It's probably that same rating right now. You know, the same percentage right now. But let's continue.
And while there is no record of drug dealing activity on his juvenile record, it wouldn't be wild to suggest that he found himself in that crowd, and that it was that crowd that enabled his truancy.
Actually, let me go back real quick. Let me look real quick, because they probably blocked this shit. I don't know. I'm live streaming somebody else shit, so that's what they usually do. With that being said, hey, I ain't about to go really too deep into this video, because fear of getting blocked on this shit. I'm probably going to get to the halfway mark and just call it a day. But for the most part, yeah, this young dude, hey, he was tripping. Oh shit, hold on, let me go back. Let's go.
Where else do you think he got the gun he used? His mother didn't own a gun. Now, as expected,
Wait. Let's go back. Cause he probably backtracked to the point where I can actually agree with him.
A decade earlier in 1976, records showed that less than 2/3 of juvenile homicide offenders used a gun.
Okay.
And by 1994, 82% of juveniles used a gun in cases of
Cause they brought the guns. They brought the guns here.
homicide. This was the background of Nate's childhood. And while there is no record of drug dealing activity on his juvenile record, it wouldn't be wild to suggest that he found himself in that crowd, and that it was that crowd that enabled his truancy. Where else do you think he got the gun he used? His mother didn't own a gun. Now, as expected,
That's
the
real.
government's response to this spike of violent, gun-fueled juvenile delinquency was to turn to the law. So, as the 1980s progressed, a growing number of states passed laws stipulating that kids under 17 could be tried as adults for certain crimes.
Okay.
It was a weird way to deal with the problem because they weren't seeking direct solutions. They were just adding to the punishment. Supporters of this law who happened to be civilians like you and me took to the streets, waving banners and slogans that read, "Adult crime, adult time." And by 1992,
Adult
more
crime,
than 40
adult
states
time.
had passed laws for trying children
And you
as
know who
adults.
they was directing that
But-
shit to. Cause the show ain't white people. Show ain't them, bro. Cause a lot of time, little white boy do some shit, nigga, they not about to give him no adult time. You know what I'm saying? They really not. No matter how fucking remedial and sick they crime was, nobody really be up there giving a fuck. You know what I'm saying? So, fuck that. I don't like this. Young boy, he was tripping though. He was tripping in the, you know, at 9 and 11. But what was I? Yeah, I was about to go grab something. Hold on. Looking for something. Just an update, because it just fucked me up. I just went there. Seattle damn near came back. They about to lose, though. Them niggas first and motherfucking touchdown, bro. They about to win. Not even be bringing that shit up. My bad. I had to turn. Oh, I forgot. I need to turn down my humidifier. Okay, we back. So, yeah. Seattle about to lose. Ain't no way. Them niggas right. First and goal. But getting back to this Nathaniel kid, hey, justice system, this is why they got this more time, you know, you do the time, you do the crime, you do the time type shit. But
members of this law who happened to be civilians like you and me took to the streets, waving banners and slogans that read adult crime,
adult crime, and by adult time. And they made this up for this young boy. That's crazy. I don't like it because it looked like a fucking white mob. Like they just mobbing around this little young boy. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, he done did some shit, but hey, it is what it is. Let's see.
1992, more than 40 states had passed laws trying children as adults. But no state's version of the juvenile justice law matched the severity of Michigan's. Michigan, the same state that Nathaniel Abraham was born in, raised in, and would commit his devastating crime in, set no limits on the age that a child could be tried as an adult.
So they called their law
Get Tough on Juvenile Offenders. In
what
fact,
is it?
When one
tough
of the
on
state senators who pushed for this law was asked if a child as young as 4 could be tried as an adult, his answer was a resounding yes.
He say a child that commit murder at 4, you know what I'm saying, could they, face time? And he said, yeah. That's wild. And this was a Michigan senator at the time. You know what I'm saying? This kind of blown my mind looking at this video, because we live in Michigan.
In one of the states...
But this way before our time, though, obviously. Because like I said, this was before my brother was born. And that's my big brother.
Devastating crime in set no limits on the age that a child could be tried as an adult. They called their law Get Tough on Juvenile Offenders.
The law is literally called Get Tough on Juvenile Offenders. So that's wild.
When one of the state senators who pushed for this law was asked if a child as young as 4 could be tried as an adult, his answer was a resounding yes. The stage was now set for Nathaniel Abraham's crime. And 3 years after that law was passed in 1997, when 11-year-old Nathaniel Abraham shot 18-year-old Ronnie Green, he became the scapegoat of a law that set the scene for the country's most controversial juvenile murder trial today.
Why these videos don't look old as 86? These videos look like early 90s. Or mid 90s. Video look mid 90s like motherfucker.
3 years after that law was passed in 1997, When 11-year-old Nathaniel Abraham shot 18-year-old Ronnie Green, he became the scapegoat of a law that set the scene for the country's most controversial juvenile murder trial to date. On the 31st of October, 1997, there was a commotion in Lincoln Middle School. There were police officers in the 6th grade class, and they were reading their rights. Not to the class teacher, but to 11-year-old Nathaniel Abraham, dressed up in a Halloween costume. A day before, on the 30th of October, 1997, an 18-year-old boy named Ronnie Green had passed away after fighting for his life for almost 24 hours. He had been shot in the head by a single bullet from a .22 caliber rifle.
Wow.
As investigators scrambled to find out who this killer was, they discovered that on the day before, 11-year-old Nathaniel Abraham had stolen a .22 caliber rifle and gone shooting outside. He shot at a neighbor's house first, narrowly missing the man who owned the house. And moments later, he stood in a cluster of trees about 200 feet away from a convenience store.
Hiding in the bushes.
And fired a bullet that would hit 18-year-old Ronnie Green in the head and kill him roughly a day later.
He was just...
While Nate admitted that he was the one who shot Ronnie, he denied targeting him. Instead, he claimed that he was only aiming for light bulbs and trees. The shot that killed Ronnie Green was, by his own admission, an unfortunate error. The prosecutors weren't buying it. Despite the fact that the 11-year-old boy had never...
Cause he done shot at somebody else, but in the same sense, bro, really thinking about it, he probably was shooting at bulbs and birds and shit. But that's still some sick shit, bro. Like, what the... Like, motherfuckers hunting and shit, bro. Y'all some weirdos, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all just out here hunting. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't doing it to eat venison. Y'all really hunting just to kill deer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's stupid. Oh, I'm gonna shoot this bird, da. So it's kind of sick. Period. You know what I'm saying? In general, like, I'm about to just go. Like, you not farming? Like, nigga, you just shooting fucking deer? The fuck is your problem? You sick. You a sick individual, bro. You out here just shooting shit just to kill it. You weird. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna get back to the video.
Never met Ronnie Green before the shooting, they were convinced that he had deliberately set out to kill someone that day. If you're wondering what fueled the prosecutor's conviction, well, they had evidence that Nate had spoken to his girlfriend, saying that he was going to kill someone on the morning of Ronnie Green's tragic demise.
So, 11-year-old.
After the shooting, he had bragged about the kill he made to his friends. With the backing of Michigan's Get Tough on Juvenile Offenders law, the prosecutors received permission to try Nate as an adult, charging him with first-degree murder and several other felonies. Nate was arrested, placed in handcuffs, and he was sent to Oakland County Children's Village, a juvenile detention center in Michigan, while he awaited trial. The arrest was deeply controversial. Controversial enough to deeply divide the country along several ethical lines. While there were many unwilling to contribute to the discussion, there were many more who thought that this was a fitting punishment for...
Yeah, because at the end of the day, he 11 years old. Get that nigga 8 years or something. Like, because I think, nah, not 8. Like 5 years. Give him like 5 years, bro. Like, or 2. Give him 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Because he 8. Not 8. I mean 11. You give him 2 years. He get out at 13. You can really figure out if he a fucking psychopath. You know what I'm saying? It's fucked up that other lives might be in danger when he get out in the street. But in the same sense, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? You just making judgment like off his past decisions. Some people change. It is what it is, you know. And with this young brother, you know, they should have gave him like 2 to 5 years. I don't know how many years they gave him, but they try to charge him as an adult for murder. So I assume they didn't go lightly.
11-year-old Nate. There was an overwhelming majority, especially in the black community, who were against the decision.
Why you gotta put emphasis like that, bro? In the black community. In the black community. Like, bro, why you gotta say it like that? Nigga, you could just say black in the black community. It just kept that shit going. You had to put in the black community. Man, shut your bitch ass up.
Unwilling to contribute to the discussion, there were many more who thought that this was a fitting punishment for the 11-year-old Nate. there was an overwhelming majority, especially in the black community.
Because we already understand y'all gonna use that shit against us. Like real shit. I understand dude might have been murdering, doing all that wild shit, whatever. But at the end of the motherfucking day, when this is a white motherfucker, y'all don't care, bro. Y'all try to come up with every excuse in the book or send the motherfuckers to psychiatric treatment. Y'all don't do that for the black motherfuckers. Y'all try to charge them as adults. So it's fucking like black people already knew this shit. Like we already knew what type of game y'all was playing. You know what I'm saying? This crazy. Like, but at the end of the day, like I said, he may have been a sick, weirdo ass little young nigga that was fucking wild and trying to kill people. Or kill people. Because he did. But at the end of the day, that ain't all of us, bro. So, of course we're going to be like, no, don't charge him as an adult. Because at the end of the day, he is a kid. He's 11 years old. Well, he was brought up around, that was his influences. It fucked him up, whatever. But at the end of the fucking day, that's still a fucking child. He ain't learned nothing. Like I say, 2 years in a juvenile facility, it may teach him something. But in the same sense, it may not. Because all you do when you in juvenile, you was around other badass fucking kids that was bad like you. So, that's going to be your influence now. You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing with prison. A lot of people go to prison. Nigga, they ain't up in that bitch with no goody two-shoe motherfuckers. It's niggas that murdered people and did, sold drugs and everything. So how is that a good influence to help you to be rehabilitated? It's not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you probably wondering like, or asking the question to me, what people supposed to do then? You supposed to still punish people. But in the same sense, to rehabilitate them, you have to educate them on who they are. So let's continue.
Who were against the decision. Amnesty International, Reverend Al Sharpton, and probably every major civil rights activist in the country protested against the whole affair, calling it a disgrace to the justice system that should protect children, delinquent or not. Yeah. Like I noted earlier, they were trying to try him as an adult, and if he was found guilty...
And how he sound like he agreed with it.
Sent to prison for the rest
it should be motherfuckers... getting arrested for that time. But like, feel that same way for a black person. I need to see any other videos of this dude. You know what I'm saying? Of him saying this same shit about a white person. If it's not one, put it in the comment section. Because if y'all familiar with this dude, put it in the comment section. But if it is one, no, I said if it is one, put it in the comment section. But if it's not one, I might be right. This motherfucker has everything to say about what black people doing and all this shit. But he ain't talking about like the Dylan Roofs and all these motherfuckers, bro. So, I don't know. I'm just being straightforward with it. Let's go.
Of his life. One lawyer was outraged enough by the case that he chose to take it on pro bono at no cost to Nate's family. This lawyer was named Jeffrey Feiger.
Oh, Jeffrey Feiger. Oh, yeah. We know Jeffrey Feiger, nigga.
Lawyer?
I actually seen him downtown one time, bro. My cousin, his baby mama worked down there, and she used to be doing restaurant work, whatever, and he was down that bitch, bro. I had one in there. I had ate I ate some sushi from this little building she was at. But for the most part, let's continue.
Who, up to that point, had built a reputation for taking on most cases that lawyers wouldn't touch. His most infamous past client at that time was a man named Jack Kevorkian, also known as Dr. Death. Jack Kevorkian was an actual doctor.
I know nothing about Jack Kevorkian. And I'm glad he bringing this up because I heard about it in comedy sketches, but no. I got buzz falling and shit, but let's continue.
Comic book villain. On his rap sheet, the man had advocated harvesting the organs from death row inmates. While he was a pathologist, he experimented with transfusing blood from the recently deceased into live patients.
What?
He did a lot of bizarre, unethical things throughout his career as a doctor, but the most controversial one, the one that got Geoffrey Fieger representing
Oh shit, hold on, my bad. I can't hear that. I gotta go back.
Kevorkian's story is worthy of it. Deceased into live patients. He did a lot of bizarre, unethical things.
I ain't know
throughout
Jack
his
Kevorkian
career
was
as a
from Michigan or whatever the fuck. Here you go, bro. What about?
doctor, but the most controversial one, the one that got Geoffrey Fieger representing him as his attorney in court, involved assisted suicide in Michigan. Kevorkian's story is worthy of its own video, so I won't go down that rabbit hole.
Facts.
Just know that while Nate's situation was controversial, it was not new to Geoffrey Fieger. And
Okay.
immediately he took on Nate's case. He began a
He said his name 3 different ways in those 3 different times.
series of motions and appeals that delayed the trial for at least 2 more years, enough time for him to prepare. On the 29th of October 1999, the murder trial began.
Y2K.
Nate's first appearance in court looked like something from a really dark SNL sketch. He was dressed in oversized prison garb. There were cuffs on his wrists and chains on his feet. When he was asked to raise his right hand, he raised his left. Halfway through the hearings, he would start sobbing.
So he obviously ain't know, you know what I'm saying, his left from his right.
And for most of the trial, he looked lost. But prosecutors and the politicians who supported this law were hell-bent on seeing it through to the end. I'm gonna shoot somebody. In her opening statement, the prosecutor, Lisa Haluska, dramatically wrote down those words for the jury to read. She claimed that these were the words that 11-year-old Nate told his girlfriend days before the killing.
Okay.
As the trial progressed, this prosecutor called witnesses who supported the idea that Nathaniel's act was, in fact, a premeditated murder. According to the witnesses, he had stolen the rusty rifle he used, then practiced target shooting at balloons, and
Then it's like, okay, he stolen this 22 caliber rifle. From where? Like, you can't just say he stole something and not tell me where he got it from. That don't make sense. I'm just looking deeper into it. I know it's a compelling argument, but y'all gonna be like, he killed. Like, but where he get it from? Let me see. You know, it had been stolen in a neighborhood burglary. From who? The rifle stock had been chopped down, but this shit sound like, you know, like what? He chopped, an 11-year-old child chopped down a stock to shorten the weapon to make it easier for a small person to grasp. That's wild.
the rifle he used, then practiced target.
And it's like, how do you add that? How do you come up with this information that he did these things? Doesn't make sense. Damn, my shit done failed now. I didn't even know. Talking and shit. But it don't make sense. Let's go.
Shooting at balloons and the houses of his neighbors before the fatal shooting of Ronnie Green. Later, the prosecutor would also...
No, they got proof of that. Him supposedly shooting at one of his neighbors. They got proof of that shit, but like, that other shit is just like, come on.
note that
Where did he really get the gun from?
Nate had told the police contradicting stories about the shooting, which, according to her, was proof that he knew what he had done and that it was wrong. When it was Geoffrey Fieger's turn, he argued that the shooting was an unfortunate accident. He didn't dispute the fact that Nathaniel fired the gun,
Before his head came up, that dude looked like Drake. But let's continue.
but he insisted that the boy was not trying to hit anyone. Fieger brought an expert marksman to stand as a witness who testified that it would have been almost impossible to deliberately hit a small target from more than 200 feet, which was the approximate distance Nate was from the victim. And it was even more unlikely because the rifle he used was old and battered.
Okay.
Later, Fieger called on child psychologists to describe Nathaniel's mental state. According to these experts, Nate had an IQ of 70, And at
70.
the time of the murder, his thought process were like those of a 6-year-old. Feiga tried to prove that Nathaniel lacked impulse control and the mental capacity to form the intent to kill. However, the prosecution brought their own psychologist to the stand as a witness, and he rebutted the claim that Nate couldn't form an intent to kill. Nate's case was a delicate one. If you were in front of the family of the deceased, how could you say your son's killer was just a child?
That's
in a
wild.
way, there was something odd.
Yeah, and I'm glad he brought that point, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you look at it like, nigga, this is my child, you know what I'm saying? And he 18 and somebody, another child that's 11 kill him. You're going to be fucked up, like, because you even as an adult, you're going to be looking like, damn, did he mean this? Did he intentionally kill, you know, my son and shit? But let's go.
About the entire premise of the case, because if Nate had been a 30-year-old man who was examined by a court psychologist and determined to have the mental capacity of a 6-year-old, would a 30-year-old Nate still be tried? But wait,
that's a good point. Especially when he black. He white. Yeah. That argument will work.
Plot thickens because the Constitution also stipulates that Nate be tried by a jury of his peers. And we both know that there is no way the court was going to do a preteen jury selection in an elementary school.
Facts.
So the jury that was hearing Nate's case were all adults.
Facts.
There were constitutional gaps that
because the jury, like, ain't that us? You know what I'm saying? They bring us in. Like, hey, nigga, come judge this shit. And see if this nigga guilty. You know what I'm saying? Like, taking you from work and all that shit. Even though they paying you, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Murder trial allowed. When a journalist confronted the prosecution about it, they argued that the adult nature of Nate's crime and the severity of the consequences of his crime on the victim's family was what justified the jury of adults. At the end of the day, the truth was, even though 2 years had passed since he committed the crime and Nathaniel Abraham was now 13, he was still too young to drive a car, too young to drink, too young to vote. And as a direct consequence of this, people still argue that he should have been too young to be tried as an adult.
Okay, that's a good argument.
In the final days of the trial, the prosecutors began seeking a
But that was a good argument at that time, I guess, because they don't give a, like, young dudes drinking. 15, 16, we drinking, smoking, all that shit. Get access to guns, all that shit, because it's available. It's around, you know what I'm saying? Like, just like they did in the 80s, where they just drop a bunch of guns off in, you know, urban neighborhoods and shit. They probably still doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, because some of these guns these niggas be having, you be like, what the fuck? And when people sell shit, they don't tell you where they got it from. So, let's continue, though.
Compromise. No more first-degree murder charges. Now they were asking the presiding judge, on Nate's behalf, to allow the jury to consider a lesser offense. Whether this was out of goodwill or because there was no victory in sending an 11-year-old to life behind bars, but no one knows. What we do know is that it worked. And on the 16th of November, 1999, Nate was found guilty of second-degree murder, which still made him the youngest American to be ever convicted of murder as an adult. And there were 3 options on the table for the judge. The first was the harshest, a prison term of 8 to 25 years.
8 to 25.
The second option was more moderate, blended sentence, and it would see Nate go to a juvenile detention center. By the time he turned 18, if he was properly rehabilitated, he would be released. If not, he would be transferred to an adult prison after turning 21 to serve the rest of his 25-year sentence. This is what the prosecutors wanted. This is what they pushed for. But it wasn't what the judge eventually chose. To their surprise, the judge went for the third option, which was the most lenient. Nate would be sent to a juvenile detention center, and he would stay there till he was 21. After which, he would become a free man. And at the age of 13, Nathaniel Abraham began what was supposedly a long road of rehabilitation. The state had less than 8 years to rehabilitate Nate. Would they succeed?
Hell no.
On the 13th of January 2000, Nate was placed in the care of the Michigan Department of Human Services for treatment and rehabilitation. Then he was moved to Maxie Boys Training School. And to everyone's surprise, by August of that very year, he began to show signs of responsibility. Throughout 2001, he passed all of his classes, and he was praised for his academic performance in math, reading, and note-keeping. By 2003, Nate was described as a leader within his group. He displayed a positive attitude, took on additional work, and followed directions. At this point, his supervisors decided
he looked like the boy from Stranger Things, man.
It was time to get him to work in the real world. So at the age of 17, Nate began working in a Goodwill store.
Okay.
And before long, his employers at the store indicated that he displayed good communication skills and that he was courteous with the customers. Eventually, on the 18th of December and at the age of 18, Nathaniel earned his GED. The following year, he would earn his high school diploma, and eventually, he was just 1 year away from his release. So, was Nate rehabilitated? Had the juvenile system succeeded in transforming the 11-year-old killer into a functioning member of society? He had shown constant progress through the years, and the world was about to find out if they had succeeded. If you noticed, the reports I relayed to you felt a little bit too clean, too sugary. Something was off. Well, you can blame me for that because I deliberately omitted some details. Nate had an anger issue. To be quite frank, he had a lot of issues. Enough of them to require several disciplinary actions taken against him. Nate had an affinity for getting into fights, even though he never really started them. He had a pattern of yelling at prison staff.
There's some people like that, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, in life, people test them. They always want to fight them and shit. Like, I had a friend like that I grew up with. A couple friends like that, where people just wanted to fight them because they knew how to fight. I don't know what it was. It was always a challenge. Like, nigga, let me fight this nigga. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be like, what the fuck? Why is y'all testing this nigga? He about to beat y'all ass. And he'll beat their ass. And I'd be like, well.
During basketball games or any competitive sports.
Let me go back a little bit because I didn't catch that. Just a little bit right there.
A lot of issues. Enough of them to require several disciplinary actions taken against him. Nate had an affinity for getting into fights, even though he never really started them. He had a pattern of yelling at prison staff. During basketball games or any competitive sports, Nate had the tendency to get heated. He also had sticky fingers and had been caught more than once stealing cleaning supplies to give to his girlfriend. Again, most of these missteps were seen as just that, missteps. Normal for any youth. What mattered was that he no longer participated in the crimes he had committed when he was 9. Remember? Larceny, malicious destruction of property, assault, and illegal entry, murder. Nathaniel Abraham hadn't killed anyone in the 8 years since the trial. So on the 18th of January 2007, after spending nearly a decade in juvenile detention, Nate was free.
Looking like
into society.
Looking like a pimp.
He was a free man.
Outfit on.
I wish this was the end of the story, and I wish I could wrap it up here with some Disney-esque
arrested again, charged with selling drugs.
But unfortunately, there were more issues ahead for Nate. For the first 18 months of
cause nigga, y'all took his childhood away. What the fuck? He got older, nigga. Shit. And what's available by 2006, 2007, nigga? Jeezy. Jeezy telling you flip a quarter key, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Of course, nigga. This what was available in the hood. And I'm not saying everybody was selling drugs, but it was available. Guns was available. All that shit. And this was more talked about because of the impression of like hip hop and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Of his newfound freedom, nothing remotely criminal or remarkable happened to Nate. Unfortunately, in May of 2008, Nate was arrested again in Pontiac with 254 ecstasy pills in a liquor.
With fucking pills, bro? Let's see. I hope he don't kill nobody. 4 to
20 years in prison, but
4 to 20? Damn. For some pills, nigga? Yeah, you better get his job, nigga.
Eventually got paroled in June 2017.
He got paroled, okay.
Did the rehabilitation fail, or was this just another misstep that Nate would learn from? Well, consider this. After he was discharged from parole in July of 2018, On the 6th of August of that
Same year.
Nate got into more trouble with the police after he
Drug
exposed
bust.
himself in front of a 46-year-old neighbor who had declined his offer to cut her lawn.
Exposed himself. What do you mean by that?
2 days after that incident, he struck deputies who tried to take him into custody for skipping a court appearance.
Wow. Like, he fucking up, but it's like, yeah.
He was charged with resisting and obstructing police.
It ain't nothing, you know, he ain't killing
A
nobody.
felony punishable by up to 4 years in prison. Had the system failed,
So what you do, nigga, had a system fail, bro? I hate this motherfucker, bro. Cause of course the system failed because it's already pit against motherfuckers, bro. So when most of the motherfuckers that get locked up is black, bro, you really have no space to talk, bro. Like real shit. This is a system built for you. So if you get locked up, it's really questionable. Like what the fuck did you do to get locked up? Usually some pedophile shit. And this dude looked like a pedophile. I ain't gonna hold you up.
Nate, or was this his own doing? Or better still, undoing? In 2019, Nate, who is now 33, was
33.
handed a 6 to 40 year prison
Wow.
sentence for selling drugs to an undercover police officer in Farmington Hills.
He don't
Before
know
the
nothing.
sentence, he had pleaded guilty and shown remorse for his actions. This was probably the reason why the judge had been extremely lenient when sentencing him. Because under normal circumstances, he would have had to face another life sentence because of his frequent problems with the law. Nate,
No, it's not fucking murder, you dumb fucking white bitch or cunt. I don't like. It's not murder, dog. He's selling drugs, bro. Let's be a humbug, bro. What niggas in the hood at the trap do you know are scientists? Like, let's be a humbug. None of them motherfuckers are scientists, but they know how to cook dope. How did they learn this? Let's be a humbug. You fucking pussy. You looking at like all these things, bro. He don't know nothing else, bro. This the programming and condition that he got, and I'm not saying it on a victimization level, cause y'all looking at he victim, he trying to play victim. Da, 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 da. No, let's be real, bro. People are conditioned and programmed to this shit, bro. And he don't know shit else. He like the quickest money you can get is from drugs, bro. The most accessible thing that's out here in the world is drugs, bro. I don't care. Like you can be in middle school. Drugs are accessible. Guns are accessible. All these things are accessible to them. And the first thing they learn about economy is supply and demand. And long as I got supply and there's a demand, I could get some money. And it just so happened that that supply is drugs. And that demand, that the people that demanding it is crackheads, bro. People that want this shit or whatever drugs he was selling. You know what I'm saying? Like like I understand it because I grew up in the hood. You know what I'm saying? But I don't understand, you know, the 11-year-old being the fucking killer part. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But I can, to an extent, understand that about influence. What he was watching, what he was allowed to see as a child, and what intrigued his interest. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? He deserved everything he getting because it's his actions that put him in the position that he at. And that's the same that go for the women that choose bad men, then try to blame every other man. That's your fucking fault because you a fucking idiot. You want to fucking chase a dream, a fantasy. You a fucking retard. I gotta be a humbug with it. But we won't look at the last few minutes of this shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he'll fuck up. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? He grew up. He's been conditioned and programmed that way. He was locked up majority of his life, nigga. Let's be real. From 11 to boom, then you already know once people go to jail, a lot of people keep going back. It is what it is. They keep going back because they can't find themselves in a world outside of the mentality that they have. So their reality is what their mentality is.
He wasn't alone in court on the day of his sentencing. His
Okay.
mother, siblings, and every relative that had been by his side since the start of his troubling journey with the law almost 20 years before was present. And when the cameras turned to his mother, when the questions about the support she had for her son came up, Gloria Abraham was unwavering. Nothing had changed on her end. I believe in my son, she said. And of course, society doesn't know his life.
Of course, society doesn't know his life. His mother's saying some real shit. Society don't know his life because society ain't what the fuck you used to, bro. You grew up, motherfucker, silver spoon. Nigga, he grew up plastic forks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole different game for you. You know what I'm saying? So for you to speak on this shit, it's just like, okay, it's understandable. You doing some journalism and all that shit. You doing your research and all these things. But certain things about the culture, dog, you don't know. You would never know. Certain things about the culture you would never know. And trying to understand it, bro, the only way you will is going to the hood, bro. Go to the hood. Chill there. Buy a house inside of the hood. You can live. You ain't gonna get robbed. You might, but but hey, it's the experience that count. You know what I'm saying? So let's go.
He will do okay. He's a strong young man.
Then it's like he mocking the mama by how he even saying it. I don't like this dude. Fuck him and this channel. Nate remains
Thanks for
in
tuning
prison.
in to Twisted Minds. That was the case of
Yeah, Twisted Minds, you a bitch. Nathaniel, he fucked up as a child, but obviously he ain't out here murdering motherfuckers back to back. He not no serial killer. So you made this whole video, and all I'm seeing is a mockery of the people that you up there, you know, saying whatever quotes they said. And it's just like, bro, fuck you. At the end of the day, because you don't understand what people go through, bro. At the end of the day. The opportunities that's presented to you, a lot of people don't get those opportunities. Let's be a humbug. You's a bitch. I can't add nothing else to that, man. But with that being said, stay peaceful, productive, and positive. It's that nigga mom. Much love, like, subscribe, and share. Hey, I'm done with this video, bro. But that was a captivating video. I ain't gonna lie. I like the editing. Dude got a whole bunch of shit going on. Hopefully his channel blow up. Him talking about bad shit black people do. Oh, he got a white dude in here too. But he probably ain't up there being on no hoe ass mocking shit when he talking about they statements though. Like, I'm gonna be a humbug. So much love to this dude and everybody that's watching.